One of the classic algorithms used for segmentation of objects in the image is watershed algorithm. So this watershed algorithm is especially used when the objects in an image are touching each other or they are overlapping with other objects in an image. So the same thing here, the coins in the image here, they are touching itself with each other, and the coins here, they are overlapping. So what actually this watershed is? So to explain this one, let me take a natural image. So in this natural image, whenever the rain happens, so because of the heavy rain, the water will be getting accumulated at some places on the land. So if the raindrop or the rainwater falls on the slope of a land area, so the water will not be remained there. So it generally will tends to move to a valley place on the land. So this is my valley place where the water will be getting accumulated. That means the raindrop or the rainwater that is falling here, it will tends to accumulate to the nearest valley. So watershed is nothing but it is the area of a land. So it is the area of a land that drains to a particular point along a heavy stream. So this you can see here, the components of the watershed are, I do have a minimum and a catchment basis and a watershed. The same 3D visualization I want to project here now. So I am just visualizing this concept in a 3D topographic view, which have the spatial coordinates along with the intensities. So the main components of this topographic view are, there are the points belonging to a region minimum. So you can see here, I do have a points. So this is a point and this is a point. These are the points. These points belonging to a regional minimum. So these are nothing but it acts as a valley. Okay. And apart from it, we do have two catchment bases, or sometimes we call this catchment basis as watershed, and the points at which, so these all are nothing but, so each and every box you can consider them as a pixel or you can even consider them as a point. So points at which a drop of water if placed at the location of any of the points. So at any of these locations, if I have placed a drop of water, the water drop tends to fall certainly either in here or here. It will tends to fall certainly to a single minimum. So this is my single minimum for this catchment basis, and for this catchment basis this will be my single minimum. Okay, the next component in this topographic view is the watershed line. So what is this watershed line? It is a dividing line. So this line, whenever a raindrop is placed or a water drop is placed on the line, it have a probability to fall at this catchment basis or in this catchment basis. That means points at which, these are the points at which it would be equally likely for a drop of water to fall to more than one catchment basis. So I do have here one catchment basis, but sometimes we may have 2 or 3 catchment basis at a point on the certain land areas. So this is the topographic view of this watershed. In this grayscale image, I have been provided with a grayscale image. So in this image, there are certain areas where I do have high intensities. That means these high intensities are nothing but the peaks in this image, and also the image is having low intensities or low brightness. So whenever there are low intensity or low brightness, we call it is a valley here. Okay, so I am visualizing an image. So this is my image in this 3D topographical view with spatial coordinates and grayscales. So this 2D image is projected here into the 3D point cloud as well as the 3D mesh. So every time I am repeating the word topography, topography. So what actually the meaning of this topography? These topography maps are the maps that provide a detailed, comprehensive information in the form of a graphical representation of any geographical feature on the surface of the earth. Like this image is nothing but is some of the geographical feature, right? So this geographical feature is represented in the form of a graphical format. And so the main important thing that to be discussed in these topographical lines, topographic maps are counter lines. So these counter lines are used in these topographic maps for providing information. Specific lines here I have used. You can see here, right? Some specific lines are also here used. These lines are provided to connect the points of equal elevation, because this line is nothing but it is joining the points. So these points are present at some elevation, and this line is nothing but it is connecting some points, and these points all are present at some other equal elevation. So contour lines are very important thing in the visualization of any 3D topographic view. So apart from this, these topography map can also work for the features of the human face. The same thing I have demonstrated here. Watershed is especially used to separate the objects in images, as I have said earlier. So we will fill out here each valley with water of different colors, because as I have said you, in the watershed I do have two catchment bases and two minimas and watershed line, or it is a divide line. Now what I am doing, I am filling out each valley with water of different color. So this is one valley, second valley, as well as the third valley. So these three valleys are labeled with three different colors and also given the name, three different names here. So slowly the water will rise up, and because of heavy rains, what happens, the water level in the valleys will tends to raise its levels, right? So the water will rise up, and to a point water from the different valleys starts to merge, because as the rainwater gets accumulated more and more, so what happens, this level of water here, it tends and it may touches down to the water body that is present adjacent to it. So in order to avoid this one, what I am going to do here, so as slowly the water will rise up, and to a point water from different valleys start to merge. So this is when we build barriers on top of the peak. So this is one peak, right? And this is also one peak. So on this peak we are going to construct some barriers, so on top of the peak, to avoid having the peak under water. So these barriers are built out. The barriers constitute the boundary of the object. That means these barriers are acting here as a segmentation. So that means these barriers are segmenting two regions, are dividing, or they are acting as a boundaries between these two regions. Because if I consider this cell 1 as one region, cell 2 as one region, and cell 3 is one region means, so these barriers or the boundaries are acting, you are serving the purpose of a segmentation. So these are nothing but the watershed lines here. So let me explain this concept in more brief view. So the objective here is to find the watershed lines, because my ultimate aim is to find or to segment the objects in the image, right? That means I am relating this concept with finding out the watershed lines here. Suppose I do have three valleys. This is my first valley, second valley, and third valley. So on the y-axis we have the brightness axis. On the x-axis we are having the distance axis, right? So this is my image profile. Okay, so this is my first valley, second valley, third valley, as I have said you. This is nothing but it is a complemented image profile. So what this graph is nothing but it is a complemented image profile. Okay, now suppose a hole is punched in each regional minima, because if this is considered as a catchment basis means definitely it will be having some minima, right? So each hole is pinched at respective minima and that entire topography is flooded from below, because here you can see, you can assume that some kind of a water body is present below or under it. So now what happens whenever the holes are punched, whenever the holes are here punched in each of this region minima, so what happens, this A point, B point and C point, they slowly tends the water to occupy in these valleys. That means they will be letting the water rise through the holes at the uniform rate. So whenever the rising of the water definitely will be distinct in each and every catchment basis, because the catchment basis whatever you are observing here are not of equal volume. One is the small catchment basis and these two are different volumes of the catchment basis. So whenever the rising water in these three catchment bases will definitely will be varied. And of course, at some or the other time, they have a chance to merge. So during that time, a dam is built. Like for example, if this is my initial, okay, so a hole is punched here. So the level of water is rising in this catchment basis and in this catchment basis, and the water hadn't started here, right? So as soon as the water have started, these two catchment bases water tends to merge, right? So this is the time where I have to do a job, that is to construct a dam. So this dam boundary is nothing but a watershed line. So this dam is used here to prevent the merging of water. The same thing you can see in this figure also. So I do have here some kind of object in an image, but I can feel that there are three objects in this image which are overlapped. So in order to like isolate or to find out each and every individual object, what I am going to do here is I just do inverting distance map. In this way I will be finally getting the image. So after that one, watershed transformation I will be doing here, and next finally I am going to get the output of segmented cells. Right. So that means I have said you that there are three objects. So now what during the watershed transformation, I will be having three holes here, here and here. So let me call these holes as A, B and C. So whenever I am dipping these three catchment bases into the flooded area or into the water. So at a time I may not will be facing the level of rise of water in the three catchment bases simultaneously. So whoever the catchment base is that is having a long height or long depth, that will start collecting the water from under it, right? So first thing is it will be collecting the water, and next it will collect the water, and next it starts collecting the water, right? So let me give the names of this minima as A and B and C, and merge this into water. Slowly what happens, the level of water rising they will increase the level of water, and so the merging also takes place, and to stop merging of water into the adjacent catchment bases, we keep a line. So this line is nothing but a watershed line, and this line is also nothing but a segmentation line. This acting as a dam such that it prevents the overlapping, right? So this is one more example. This is my original image, and the topographic view of this image is this one. So this is start of flooding where only the darkest portions are flooded. So this portion is flooded here. So this portion you can see, right? So this portion is starting to flood. That means it tends to collect the water. The level of water in this hole slowly increases. So it is previously it is the initial flooded area, or like it is an object that is going to be immersed or digged into the water body here. So this is my water started leaking through the hole, and next stage of flooding where water has leaked from the hole. So this is my watershed line here. So the output of the watershed algorithm here producing me a set of labels, because as I have said you, it may be used for touching or it may be used for overlapping scenario where each label corresponds to a unique object in the image. So the final result of this watershed algorithm is represented. So here you can find the objects or blobs in the image where the boundaries of these blobs are not so clear, for which what I am doing, I am just applying the gradient operation on this image. So after applying the gradient operation, I can able to extract the nearly blob-like structures or objects where the background will be eliminated, as you can see. So immediately I apply the concept of the watershed algorithm here, and the watershed lines are identified, and these watershed lines are superimposed on the original image. In this manner the segmentation process can be done. So these blobs in the image are nothing but the blobs are binary large object, that is a collection of binary data stored in entities here. And in practice, these watershed algorithm techniques are applied to gradient of images rather than directly applying to image itself.